Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the foundation of it. Think about that for a second. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid failure, running from it like it's a disease, treating it like it's the enemy. Un- but the truth is, without failure, there is no success. Without falling, you don't learn how to stand. Without struggle, you don't learn how to fight. Failure is the soil where the seed of success is planted. It's the fire that burns away weakness, pride, and fear, leaving you stronger, sharper, and more prepared for the road ahead. When you fail, it hurts. It bruises your ego. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder if you're even meant to do this thing you're chasing. But here's the truth. Failure is feedback. It's information. It's the universe telling you, not this way, not yet, not here. And the people who succeed are not the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who pay attention to it, learn from it, and come back stronger. Every time you fail, you're getting closer to success because you're learning what doesn't work, and that's just as important as knowing what does. Think about the greatest minds and the most successful people in history. They didn't get there by being perfect. They didn't get there by avoiding mistakes. They got there by failing more times than the average person even tried. Thomas Edison said, "I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work." That's not failure, that's progress. That's building a foundation brick by brick. Each setback was a brick laid down, and eventually it created the ground on which success could stand. And that's how it works in life. You don't get to skip the process. You don't get to jump over failure. It's part of the journey. The only way you know the sweetness of success is by tasting the bitterness of defeat. If everything worked out the first time, you wouldn't appreciate it. If every door opened the moment you knocked, you wouldn't value the breakthrough. The reason success feels powerful, the reason it's worth celebrating, is because you remember the nights when nothing worked, the days when doors slammed shut, the times you thought it was over. Failure gives success its meaning. But here's the thing, most people don't make it because they give up after failure. They fail once, twice, three times, and they think it's a sign to quit. No, it's a sign to keep going. You see, failure is only permanent if you accept it. If you stop moving, if you stop trying, then yes, you failed. But if you fall and you get back up, that failure has just become part of your training, part of your preparation. It becomes fuel. You've got to learn how to take that sting, that embarrassment, that frustration, and turn it into energy. Don't let failure make you bitter. Let it make you better. Every great success is built on a mountain of failures. Athletes lose games before they win championships. Actors get rejected from auditions before they land the role. Entrepreneurs lose money before they build empires. Nobody escapes failure. It's a toll you have to pay on the road to greatness. The question is, are you willing to pay it? Are you willing to endure the pain, the doubt, the setbacks to get to where you're meant to be? Because success doesn't belong to the talented. It doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the persistent. It belongs to the people who have the courage to fail and the faith to keep going. Failure will test you. It will test your patience, your confidence, your faith. It will ask you, how bad do you really want this? And in that moment, you've got a choice. You can bow out. You can accept defeat, or you can dig deeper, stand taller, and say, I'm not done yet. That's the difference between the ones who talk about success and the ones who live it. They're not special, they're not chosen. They're just willing to fail over and over until they finally break through. So the next time you fail, don't hang your head. Don't call yourself a loser. Don't let the world convince you that it's over. Instead, remind yourself this is part of the process. This is not the end, this is the beginning. Every failure is a stepping stone, every mistake a lesson, every setback a setup for a comeback. If you're failing, it means you're in the arena, you're trying, you're moving forward. And as long as you're moving forward, success is not a matter of if, it's only a matter of a when. Every great success story is written with chapters of failure. People love to talk about the highlight reel. They love to celebrate the trophy, the award, the big break. But what they don't show you is the behind the scenes, the pages nobody reads out loud, the chapters filled with rejection letters, sleepless nights, doubts, tears, and losses. Success, my friend, is not one chapter. It's a whole book. And if you skip the chapters of failure, the story doesn't make sense. Think about the biographies you've read, the movies you've watched about great leaders, inventors, athletes, and artists. None of those stories go straight to the top. There's always a moment where they hit the wall. There's always a moment when the world told them a no. There's always a moment when they questioned themselves, when they thought about quitting. That's not an accident. That's the process. Failure is what gives the story weight. It's what gives the story power. Without those chapters, the story is incomplete. Take Michael Jordan. People see the championships, the rings, the scoring titles, the glory. But go back and read his story. He got cut from his high school basketball team. Imagine that the greatest to ever play the game was once told he wasn't good enough. That chapter could have been the end of his book, but instead it was the beginning. He took that pain, that rejection, and turned it into fuel. Every time he stepped on the court, he was writing a new chapter, built on the foundation of that early failure. Without that moment, without that heartbreak, his story wouldn't carry the same power. Or think about Oprah Winfrey. Before she became a global icon, she was told she wasn't fit for television. Fired from her first job as a news anchor. That was a chapter of failure. But instead of letting the book end there, she kept writing. She used that rejection as direction, finding her true voice in a way nobody else could. Mandaika. And now when people tell her story, that chapter of failure makes the success even sweeter, even more inspiring. See, here's the truth. You cannot have a story of triumph without chapters of struggle. If all you had were wins, nobody would care. It wouldn't inspire. It wouldn't move people. What makes success shine is the fact that it was born out of darkness. What makes the ending beautiful is the storm you had to walk through in the middle. Every stumble, every rejection, every closed door is part of the narrative, part of the script that shapes you into who you're supposed to be. But here's the problem. Most people stop writing too early. They get stuck in one bad chapter and think the book is over. No, that's just one page. That's just one scene. You've got more chapters to write, more battles to fight, more victories to claim. Don't close the book just because the chapter you're in is hard. Keep writing. Keep turning the page. Because what feels like the end right now might just be the setup for your breakthrough. Failure is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to develop you. Those rough chapters teach you resilience. They teach you humility. They teach you patience. Without them, success would break you because you wouldn't know how to handle it. Failure is the editing process, cutting away the parts of you that aren't ready yet, shaping you into the person who can carry success with strength and grace. So the next time you fail, the next time you get rejected, the next time life knocks you down, remind yourself this is just a chapter, not the whole book. Every success story you admire was built this way. And if they can turn their failures into fuel, so can you. Keep writing, keep moving. Keep moving. Keep fighting, because one day someone's going to read your story and it will inspire them. Not because you never failed, but because you did and you rose anyway. Courage is tested not when you win, but when you fall and decide to rise again. Anybody can smile when life is good. Anybody can celebrate when the crowd is cheering, when the doors are opening, when the blessings are flowing. That doesn't take courage, that just takes gratitude. So, real courage is revealed when the lights are off, when the world has turned its back, when you're flat on your face with nobody clapping, nobody watching, and the only question is, are you getting back up? See, losing doesn't define you. Quitting does. Falling doesn't define you. Staying down does. You will be tested in life, not by the moments when you win, but by the moments when you lose, because it's in those moments you discover who you really are. Do you have the heart to rise? Do you have the faith to believe that your story isn't over yet? Huh. Do you have the courage to stand tall when everything in you is screaming to give up? That's the true test. I've seen people with talent beyond measure fall because they lacked resilience. And I've seen ordinary people, people with no advantages, no spotlight, no head start, rise to greatness because they refuse to stay down. That's the difference. Courage isn't about never falling. It's about falling 10 times and standing up 11. It's about saying, yes, I failed, but I am not finished. It's about taking the blows, the defeats, the disappointments, and using them to sharpen your spirit instead of breaking it. Think about every champion you've ever admired. Their courage wasn't proven in the victory parade. It was proven in the training, in the injuries, in the rejections, in the setbacks. It was proven in the quiet moments when nobody was watching, when they had every reason to quit, but they chose to rise. Muhammad Ali didn't become the greatest because he won fights. He became the greatest because even when he was knocked down, he rose again with fire in his eyes. His courage wasn't tested when his arms were raised in victory. It was tested when he was on the canvas gasping for air and he stood back up. And that's the same for you. Life will knock you down. Dreams will get delayed. Plans will fall apart. You will lose people. You will lose opportunities. You will lose battles. But in those losses, you will face the question that defines your destiny. Will you rise again? If the answer is yes, if you choose to stand when everything in you wants to quit, you will build a strength that cannot be taken from you. You will discover courage that runs deeper than fear. See, courage is not the absence of fear. Don't let anyone fool you. Courage is standing up while you're still afraid. Courage is moving forward when your knees are shaking. Courage is saying, I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I'm still going. Courage is faith in action. It's the voice inside you that whispers, get up, keep moving. You are not done yet. Most people think success is built on talent, on opportunity, on luck. But real success, lasting success, is built on courage. The courage to keep going when others stop. The courage to believe in yourself when others doubt you. The courage to rise again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. That's the difference between those who dream and those who achieve. So when you fall, and you will, don't stay there. Don't wallow in defeat. Don't wallow in defeat. Don't let the pain convince you that it's over. Remember that courage isn't proven by how you celebrate the win, but by how you respond to the loss. Every time you rise, you're building a spirit of resilience. Every time you stand back up, you're proving to yourself and to the world that you cannot be broken. And that is what true success is built on. Failure teaches lessons success cannot. Success feels good. No doubt about it. When you win, when you're applauded, when everything you touch seems to turn to gold, it feels like the world is in your corner. But here's the thing. Success doesn't always teach you. It rewards you, yes, but it rarely challenges you. It rarely pushes you to grow. Failure, on the other hand, is the greatest teacher you will ever have. Failure humbles you, corrects you, strengthens you, and prepares you in ways success never could. When you succeed, it's easy to believe you've figured it all out. Success can make you comfortable. It can lull you into thinking you've arrived, that you don't need to sharpen your skills anymore, that you don't need to push harder. But failure will shake you awake. Failure will expose the gaps in your plan, the cracks in your foundation, the weaknesses you were blind to. It forces you to ask questions, to reflect, to improve. Failure says, look closer, do better, try again. And those lessons, as painful as they are priceless. Think about it. When was the last time you really learned something deep, something life-changing from a win? Most of the time, our greatest wisdom comes not from victory, but from defeat. You miss a shot, and you learn to practice harder. You lose a deal, and you learn to negotiate smarter. You fail at love, and you learn how to value people more deeply. Success doesn't usually stop you in your tracks and make you rethink everything. But failure will sit you down and say, pay attention. This is where you grow. Some of the most powerful lessons in life cannot be taught in a classroom. They have to be lived through pain. You can read about perseverance, but until you fail, you won't truly understand it. You can talk about resilience, but until you fall flat on your face, you won't know what it means to get back up. You can preach about humility, but until life knocks you down a peg, you won't truly grasp it. Failure is not just a teacher, it's a sculptor. It shapes you, chisels away at your ego, carves out the weakness, and leaves behind strength, character, and wisdom. The irony is, the people who run from failure, the ones who avoid risk because they're scared to lose, also run from the very lessons that could set them free. Playing it safe, staying in the comfort zone, never putting yourself in a position where you might fail. That's not wisdom, that's fear. Fear. And fear keeps you stuck. But when you embrace failure, when you step into it and accept it as part of the journey, you unlock growth at a level most people never touch. Look at any successful person you admire. You'll find failure in their story, but you'll also find lessons that failure gave them, lessons that prepared them for their breakthrough. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times before Harry Potter ever saw the light of day, but each rejection taught her persistence. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. That failure taught him resilience. Steve Jobs was pushed out of his own company. That failure taught him vision and hunger that made him come back stronger. Without the lessons from those failures, their success wouldn't have lasted. It wouldn't have been as impactful. Failure slows you down so you can see clearly. It removes arrogance, it forces you to reevaluate, and it drives you back to the basics. It teaches you patience when you want everything right now. It teaches you empathy when you see others struggling. It teaches you gratitude when you finally rise again. These are lessons that success cannot give you because success doesn't break you down. Failure does. And sometimes you need to be broken to be rebuilt stronger. So the next time you fail, instead of asking, why me? Start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift changes everything. Suddenly, failure is no longer the enemy. It becomes your mentor. Every stumble becomes a class. Every loss becomes a textbook. Every setback becomes a lesson in disguise. And if you're willing to learn, if you're humble enough to pay attention, those lessons will build the kind of success that lasts not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Rejection is redirection. It pushes you toward your true path. When you hear the word a no, it stings. It feels personal. It feels like a door slammed in your face, like the world just told you you're not enough. But let me tell you something. Rejection is not the end. It's a signpost. It's a message. It's life pointing you in another direction, a better direction, the one you were meant to walk all along. We often think rejection means failure. We think it means we're not capable, not worthy, not talented. But rejection is not always about your ability. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about alignment. Sometimes it's about protection. That opportunity you thought you needed might not have been right for you. That person you thought you couldn't live without might have been blocking your blessing. That job you were so desperate to land might have been too small for the dream you were created to live. Rejection doesn't mean a no forever. It often means a not here, not now, not this way. Think about the times in your life when you didn't get what you wanted. At first, it felt like heartbreak. It felt like a dead end. But then months later, years later, you looked back and realized that closed door was the best thing that ever happened to you. That rejection forced you to grow, to stretch, to move in a direction you would have never chosen on your own. That's what rejection does. It redirects you to your purpose. Some of the greatest success stories are built on rejection. Steven Spielberg was rejected from film school multiple times. If he had taken that as the final word, the world would have never seen his genius. But he understood rejection wasn't a verdict, it was redirection. But soon, he found another way, and his way was the right way. Oprah was told she wasn't a fit for television, that rejection redirected her to create her own lane, her own platform. And in doing so, she became one of the most powerful voices of all time. Rejection can break you if you let it. It can make you bitter, make you shrink, make you question your worth. But if you flip it, if you choose to see it as redirection, it becomes fuel. It pushes you out of comfort zones. It makes you hungrier, more creative, more determined. It forces you to discover paths you didn't even know existed. And often, the path you're redirected to is bigger, better, and more aligned with your destiny than the one you were chasing. But here's the key. You've got to trust it. You've got to trust that a closed door is not a punishment, it's a blessing. You've got to trust that when life says a no, it's because there's a greater yes waiting for you down the road. That takes faith. That takes patience. That takes resilience. Most people quit at rejection. They stop chasing their dream after the first no. But the ones who succeed are the ones who understand that rejection is just part of the process. It's a detour, not a dead end. I've had doors close in my face. I've had opportunities slip through my hands. And in the moment, it felt crushing. But looking back, every rejection prepared me for the right role, the right stage, the right moment. If I had forced my way into opportunities I thought I wanted, I would have missed the ones that were meant for me. That's how life works. Rejection clears the path for your true assignment. So when you face rejection from people, from opportunities, from life itself, don't let it stop you. Don't let it define you. Let it redirect you. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it fuel your determination. Let it guide you toward the purpose you were created to fulfill. Rejection doesn't mean the story is over. It means the story is being rewritten. And trust me, the next chapter is always greater. Dream big, but be willing to fail big. See, everybody wants to dream. Everybody wants to picture themselves on the mountaintop, holding the prize, living the life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Dreaming is where it begins. But let me tell you something. The size of your dream has to match the size of your courage. If you dream small, you'll risk small. But if you dream big, if you dream about doing something that shakes the ground and changes lives, then you've got to be willing to risk big to fail big. Because the bigger the dream, the bigger the test you'll face on the way. Most people want success without risk. They want the reward without the rejection. They want the blessing without the burden. But that's not how it works. You can't play it safe and expect to reach greatness, Ain. Playing it safe keeps you in the shallow end, while dreaming big demands that you dive into deep waters. And when you dive deep, you might sink a few times before you learn how to swim. That's the risk. That's the price of dreaming big. Think about every visionary, every leader, every legend you admire. They didn't just dream about what was possible, they dreamed about what seemed impossible. They set their eyes on something so high, so daring, that failure was almost guaranteed along the way. But here's the beauty. Every failure was part of the climb. Every fall was part of the preparation. And because they were willing to fail big, they eventually succeeded in ways the world could never ignore. When you aim low, you avoid disappointment, but you also avoid destiny. You stay comfortable, you stay safe, but you never stretch, you never grow, you never reach the heights you were created for. Dreaming big requires you to step out on faith. It requires you to risk embarrassment, to risk rejection, to risk falling flat on your face in front of the whole world. And most people aren't willing to do that. But the ones who are, they're the ones who change the game. Take Martin Luther King Jr. His dream wasn't small, it wasn't safe. It was massive, it was dangerous, it was risky. He knew failure was possible at every turn, but he also knew that a dream worth chasing was worth the risk of failure. And even when he faced setbacks, even when he faced resistance, he never shrank his dream. He kept pushing, kept speaking, kept believing, kept believing. And today that dream echoes across the world. Or look at entrepreneurs who build billion-dollar companies. They don't start by thinking, I just want to make a little money. No, they start with big visions. But with big visions come big risks. They lose money, they lose time, they get laughed at, they fail publicly. But because they're willing to fail big, they eventually succeed big. Here's the truth. Small dreams might protect you from pain, but they'll also rob you of purpose. Playing it safe will keep you from falling, yes, but it'll also keep you from flying. And you weren't born to just survive. You were born to soar. To do that, you've got to dream so big that people think you're crazy. You've got to dream so big that failure becomes part of the journey, not the end of it. But here's the key. Don't just dream big for yourself. Dream big enough to lift others. Dream big enough to change lives. Because when your dream is only about you, failure will break you. Failure will break. But when your dream is about something bigger, about purpose, about impact, about legacy, failure won't stop you because you'll know the dream is worth it. So don't shrink your vision to fit your fear. Don't lower your sights to avoid rejection. Raise your eyes. Raise your faith. Raise your standard. Dream so big it scares you. Dream so big it humbles you. Dream so big it forces you to grow. And then be willing to fail big along the way, because every great success is born out of big risks, and every big risk carries the possibility of big failure. But if you've got the courage to risk it all, you just might gain it all. Faith turns setbacks into comebacks. When life knocks you down, and it will, you've got two choices. You can stay on the ground and let the world count you out, or you can rise with faith and let the world witness your comeback. See, setbacks by themselves can break you. They can discourage you, drain you, make you believe that your story is over. But when you add faith into the equation, something changes. Faith takes what looks like the end and transforms it into the beginning of something greater. Faith is the belief that even when everything is going wrong, something good is still being written behind the scenes. Faith is the voice that whispers, hold on, this is not the end of your story. This pain has purpose. This delay has direction. This closed door has protection written all over it. Without faith, setbacks feel final. With faith, setbacks become setups. Setups for your growth, for your blessing, for your next chapter. Look at the lives of people who've risen from nothing. They didn't do it on talent alone. They didn't do it on hard work alone. They did it because they had faith that their struggles were temporary. They believed that no matter how far they fell, they could get back up stronger. That kind of belief doesn't come from evidence. It doesn't come from guarantee. It comes from faith. Faith that what's meant for you will not miss you. Faith that God's plan is bigger than your problem. Think about it like this. When a bow is pulled back, the arrow doesn't move forward right away. In fact, it looks like it's being dragged in the wrong direction. But the deeper it's pulled back, the further it flies when it's released. That's what a setback is with faith. You might feel like you're being pulled back, held down, delayed. But when faith enters the picture, that pullback is preparing you to launch farther than you ever imagined. History is filled with comeback stories fueled by faith. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. That's more than 2 decades of a setback. But his faith never broke. He believed that freedom would come, that justice would rise. And when he was released, his comeback wasn't just personal, it became a victory for a whole nation. That's the power of faith in the middle of a setback. Even in your personal life, you've seen it. Times you thought you'd never recover, never heal, never smile again, but you did. Times you thought the door was closed forever, but another door opened that was even better. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was faith at work, turning your setback into a comeback. But here's the thing. Faith isn't passive. It's not just sitting and waiting. Faith is moving even when you don't see the full path. Faith is trying again after the failure. Faith is knocking on the next door after the last one slammed in your face. Faith is saying, I don't know how, but I believe it's possible. And that belief gives you the strength to rise where others stay down, to fight where others surrender, to keep going where others quit. Setbacks will come for everybody. Nobody escapes them. The difference is how you respond. Without faith, a setback is just a loss. With faith, a setback is a lesson, a blessing, a preparation for your comeback. You start to realize that the rejection you faced was protecting you. The delay you hated was developing you. The failure you cried over was shaping you. Faith doesn't erase the pain, but it gives the pain meaning. And when your pain has meaning, you can endure it until the comeback arrives. So the next time you face a setback, and trust me, you will, don't let it break you. Let faith rise up inside you. Tell yourself, this is not the end. This is just the setup. Keep believing, keep moving, keep trusting, because every setback you face with faith carries the seed of a comeback greater than you imagined. And when that comeback arrives, the same people who counted you out will be the ones watching you rise. Consistency, discipline, and resilience transform failure into destiny. See, it's not just about one big moment of courage. It's not just about one flash of inspiration. Anybody can be motivated for a day. Anybody can feel strong for a week. But what separates those who make it from those who don't is the ability to show up every single day, through the pain, through the doubt, through the failure. Success is not built overnight. It's built brick by brick, decision by decision, sacrifice by sacrifice by sacrifice. And the cement holding those bricks together is consistency, discipline, and resilience. Consistency means you don't just work when you feel like it. You don't just chase the dream when it's convenient. You show up day in and day out, whether the results are visible or not. You keep training when nobody's watching. You keep practicing when nobody's clapping. You keep moving forward even when it feels like you're standing still. Because consistency compounds, small steps repeated over time create unstoppable momentum. But consistency alone isn't enough. You need discipline. Discipline is what keeps you aligned when distractions try to pull you away. It's the voice that says, I know, stay focused. No, keep grinding. No, don't quit just because it's hard. Discipline is what turns intention into action. You can dream all day, you can talk about your goals, but without discipline, they stay in your head. Discipline takes your vision and brings it into reality. And then comes resilience. Resilience is what happens when failure enters the picture, and it will. Because no matter how disciplined or consistent you are, setbacks will still come. You'll still face rejection, obstacles, and disappointments. Resilience is your ability to bend but not break, to stumble but not surrender. It's your ability to take failure and use it as fuel instead of letting it bury you. Resilience is what transforms defeat into strength. When you put consistency, discipline, and resilience together, failure doesn't destroy you, it builds you. Every failure becomes part of your training. Every obstacle becomes part of your conditioning. Every rejection becomes part of your sharpening. And over time, those qualities don't just help you succeed, they shape your destiny. Because destiny is not about luck, it's not about talent alone, it's about character. And character is forged in the fire of discipline, consistency, and resilience. Think about the greatest athletes, leaders, and visionaries. They weren't always the most talented. They weren't always the smartest. That's who I am. But they were the ones who showed up every day. They were the ones who stayed disciplined when others gave in. They were the ones who kept going when failure tried to stop them. That's why they rose above. That's why they reached levels others only dream about. Michael Jordan didn't just succeed because of talent, he succeeded because of relentless consistency. Kobe Bryant didn't just shine because of skill. He was known for his discipline, the Mamba mentality that refused to quit. Nelson Mandela didn't rise because the path was easy. He rose because of resilience that endured 27 years in prison and came out unbroken. Their destinies weren't accidents. They were the result of consistency, discipline, and resilience, transforming failure into fuel. See, failure by itself has no power. It's just an event. What gives failure power is how you respond to it. Without consistency, failure makes you quit. Without discipline, failure makes you drift. Without resilience, failure makes you weak. But with all three, failure makes you unstoppable. With all three, failure becomes a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. With all three, failure stops being the enemy and becomes your greatest ally. So if you want success, don't just chase the big moments. Don't just wait for inspiration. Build the habits, build the focus, build the toughness. Be consistent in your grind. Be disciplined in your choices. Be resilient in your setbacks, because when you combine those three, failure can't hold you down. It can only lift you higher, shaping you, molding you, and guiding you toward your destiny.